Good evening, dear past presidents, council members, family members of Engineer B.D. Rampala, members of the IESL, staff members and guests. You all are welcome to Engineer B.D. Rampala Memorial Oration. Please rise for a presidential procession. To start the event, let me invite the following dignitaries to light the lamp. Engineer Granny R. Jala, President-elect of the IESL, two senior most past presidents, Engineer Priyal De Silva and Engineer Chula De Silva. Engineer Parakrama Jayasinghe, our speaker today. Mrs. Ranjani Pereira, daughter of Engineer B.D. Rampala. Mrs. Danesh J. Sirivardhana, daughter-in-law of Engineer B.D. Rampala. Engineer Ruwan Nagahawatha, Chairman, Mechanical Engineering Section Committee. And Engineer Neela Besekara, CEO Executive Secretary of the IES. Kindly remain standing. Our next item is garland in the portrait of late Engineer B.D. Rampala. I respectfully invite our President-elect, Engineer Granny Jala, to garland the portrait. Kindly be seated. In the meantime, I invite the following dignitaries to the stage. Engineer Granny Jala, President of elect IESL. Engineer Parakrama Jayasinghe, our speaker today. Engineer Ruwan Nagahawatha, Chairman, Mechanical Engineering Section. Thank you very much. Our next agenda item is welcoming you all. For that, I warmly welcome or invite Engineer Granny Jala, our President-elect.
Engineer Parakrama Jayasinghe, our guest speaker today, past presidents, vice presidents, council members, chairman and mechanical engineering sectional committee of the IESL, fellow members, members of the family of the late engineer B.D. Rampala, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Institution of Engineers Sri Lanka, let me welcome all to the IESL for the late engineer Rampala Memorial Lecture today. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, the history replete with people, those whose initiatives were revolutionized the way people will live. Civilization itself is a cumulative results of the initiatives of such people who had courage and prevents to see their convictions through. One such individual is Engineer Dr. Rampala, who became the first native chief mechanical engineer in far back 1949 of the then Ceylon Government Railways, and went to become the general manager during the period 1955-1970. In what is now Sri Lanka Railways, the name Ceylon Government Railways, CGR, and the name of former general manager railway, GMR, engineer B.D. Rampala, were interwoven, and the people who talk about the glorious days of the CGR still remember him as an unmatched personality. The single day journey from Mathura to Badulla, the many expresses the signaling systems were among the new that is stand to the engineer B.D. Rampala's credit. It was he who came up the nomenclature of express services like the Ruhunu Kumari, Udarata Menike, Yal Devi, Udarata Devi, Uday Devi, and Muthu Kumari, Samudra Devi, and Puri Menike. Bamunu Arachike Don Rampala, he was born on 14 November 1910 and grew up at his ancestral home in Morakati, Panipidia. He received his education initially at the English Smith School in Kottayam. Then he went to the Nalanda College, Colombo, and completed his senior Cambridge examination at Ananda College. Mr. Rampala entered the Colombo University College and completed his examinations in pure maths, applied maths, and physics. After a few months training in the police department, he joined the Rampala Railway Mechanical Engineering Department of the CGR as a special apprentice in 1931 at the age of 21. He sat and passed the Bachelor of Science degree of the University of London as an external candidate, and that happened in 1933. Then he got qualified as an engineer on private study by obtaining the associate membership of the Institute of Mechanical Engineering, IMEC, in 1935. Engineer B.D. Rampala was appointed as the chief mechanical engineer of CGR in 1949, the first Ceylonese for this post. In 1955, he became general manager of the railway, GMR, and at the age of 45. A position he was held for 14 years until his retirement in late 1960s. And he was the GMR having the second longest term in office. Engineer Rampala was elected as the president of the Institution of Engineers in Sri Lanka, ISL, in 1958. In fact, this was the year the bus industry was nationalized and the century of the Ceylon Government Railways. And he was also instrumental in establishing the Ceylon Transport, CTB, with Veera the men. In Sri Lanka, steam locomotives made their debut in 1860s at the behest of the British colonists, tea and coffee growers, unable to cope with the transport demands of their increasing export trade. The Anguru Kala, Waturabibi Duana Yakadayaka, as the natives of that time called it, aptly described its size and the voracious appetite for coal and water while smoking with its characteristic hissing noise. It it reigned supreme for almost a century. But then mankind was impatient for ever better comforts and quicker fees of life. Sri Lankans were no exception. And as a fate would have it, a son of soil, engineer B.D. Rampal, took up the reins of the railways of the country and delivered on them. Much have been written of this dawn of Sri Lanka Railways and strict discipline which he managed. Ladies and gentlemen, he made his proposal. Engineer Rampala made his proposal to dieselize the Sri Lankan Railways in 1953. The first batch of diesel locomotives arrived from British United Kingdom. When the locomotives started faulty, Engineer Rampala made the modification to them. When inspected by the British builders, his modifications were approved and not challenged against their original designs. He submitted a paper on these observations to the Institute of Locomotive Engineers in London, which he gave him a full praise. Engineer Rampala sought to upgrade the railways in 1950s. He launched express trains to shorten the journey times to major destinations. Named like Yal Devi and Udarata Manike, they were launched under his leadership. When he launched the Colombo Matara Ruhunu Kumari train service in October 1955, and it was Engineer Rampala himself drew the train from Colombo to Matara. Ladies and gentlemen, until 1950, CGR operated entirely with lock and block signaling system. Engineer Rampala introduced the electronic color signaling for the busier portions of the railways in 1959. Train movements could then be controlled at a central control panel at Maradana, greatly improving the safety. Ladies and gentlemen, in 1956, the Institution of Loco Engineers in London recognized Rampala as the best diesel engineer in Asia. He passed away on 20th June 1994 at the age of 84. In addition to improving the safety of CGR, Engineer Rampala has been remembered for his mark on culture. He carried the Yal Devi train connecting Colombo to the capital of Jaffna. In doing so, he created a cultural icon and transcended any divide between North and South. With that one, I conclude my introduction and hand over to Neil for the next step.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, let me have the honor of introducing our speaker today, our veteran speaker, let me say. Engineer Parakrama Jayasinghe is a chartered mechanical engineer with a BSc Engineering Honours degree from the University of Peradeniya. He is Honorary Life Fellow of the Institution of Engineers Sri Lanka and a member of the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, London. Mr. Jayasinghe has had an abiding interest in the development of mechanical engineering design and manufacturing in Sri Lanka, and he initiated the CPD course on mechanical engineering design at the IESL, the Industrial Consultative Committee of the Universities of Peradeniya and Moratuwa. He is actively engaged in development of engineering education with close links with the IESL and the faculties of engineering at Moratuwa and Peradeniya. In order to pursue his belief that engineering should become a major input to the agricultural sector upliftment, he serves as a member of the Consultative Committee on Research of the Tea Research Institute of Sri Lanka and the Scientific Advisory Committee on Technology at Tea Research Institute. He is also a council member of the Sri Lanka Entrepreneurs Forum, formed to actively engage in uplifting our farmers to agri-entrepreneurs. He actively participates in many committees related to the renewable energy sector on all aspects and is a frequent contributor to the national press on energy issues. He is often invited to serve as a panel member in popular TV and radio discussions on the energy and environmental issues. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Neil, for the very kind introduction. I must also commence by recognizing the dignitaries here. Our president is out of the country, I'm sure, but President-elect is here, and also a number of past presidents and members of Engineer Rampala's family. I'm pleased to be speaking in front of you, and council members, members of ISL, and ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'm very pleased to be standing here in front of you, and I consider it the most honorable, big honor to me to be speaking in behalf of an engineer of eminence and whom I always held in very much esteem. And moreover, I also would like to say that I always thought of him as a role model that all of us should follow. And of course, he placed a very high bar, which I think none of us would find it easy to get anywhere near. But that attempt to get there will always be a boon for all of us to try and improve our own skills, and pay homage to him by at least achieving a fraction of the eminence that he reached. That is the whole idea behind these memorial lectures, or these giants in the industry. And we remember, in particular, about the President-elect mentioned very many things that he achieved during his time. So we must always remember those and look at those achievements as an example for us to follow, to whatever extent that is possible for us. Now, to my regret, I never had the chance of serving under him or even to meet him personally. But maybe I would take some pride in saying that I'm also from Nalanda, where he was a student a long time ago. And other than that, it's to my regret, I never had the chance of meeting him. But of course, looking at the time when he was very much recognized as a giant in the industry, I also, of course, had the privilege under two of the other giants at the same time, Dr. N.S. Kulasinghe and Dr. A. Vijayawardena, both of whom we also honor by memorial lectures in this very same hall. Now, we would always be inspired by what he achieved in the railway industry, as discussed in detail by the President-elect. But his rise to eminence, starting from special apprentice and eventually becoming the GMR, or first becoming the, what you call the chief engineer, first Sri Lankan chief engineer. All these are examples that we must always remember and see that things that you can achieve if you set your mind to it. And the glorious days of CGR, of course, is always linked to his name, and nobody would talk about CGR without mentioning or integrate sort of in the same breath mentioning Engineer Rampala. You see, Rampala and CGR are intertwined so closely. And the most appropriately named express trains, Gunu Kumari, I was a frequent traveler in the room. Gunu Kumari, myself, Yal Devi, and all those Uttara Devi still ring, a resonance, build of resonance in our minds. It's still, yeah. So the appropriateness of those names stands the thesis of history. I think President-elect mentioned his contribution in trying to get rid of the coal, dirty coal that was, I think, but of course, in our own wisdom, we have brought it back to pollute Sri Lanka. But again, let's talk about the electrification of railways, which have been talked about even in the ISL for many years. So let's hope that will be really sooner than later. Again, now that time his effort, successful effort, I must say, was to get rid of coal and bring in diesel as the fuel of that time. But it's time for us to regenerate or rekindle that interest in what can be done to convert diesel to electric. Now, the proposal we made at that time, many years ago, perhaps needs relooking at, because circumstances and also certain drawbacks in the original proposals might be recognized now. And as I always say, when time passes and nothing gets done, there's always advantage of your making use of the developments in the interim. In this case of energy, so many things have changed during that 2 decades, or particularly the last decade, and there are new ideas coming in, new sources of fuel coming in. So maybe we should be talking about, instead of diesel to electric, it might be even end up being hydrogen to electric, or storage of electricity in batteries, so that we don't have to have the difficult structures like the pantograph and things like that one, which might cause some difficulties. Therefore, even though it may not be much of a problem in the coastal areas, but if you want to expand it further into the hill country, that might cause problems. All those can be resolved to go for the more appropriate technologies now. That's why I always say that this always go with the times and adopt the technologies that are available now, which have been proven in practice in the other countries. Sri Lanka has this habit of remaining in the last century and not picking up the technologies that have been developed. All manner of excuses they are brought out to say that they can't be done. You see, usually but anybody who says it can't be done means that he doesn't know how to do it. That doesn't mean that he can't be done. You see, so we'll have to. That's the role of ISL, I should say. We can't say nothing can be done. It's up to us to find out ways and means of doing things. Okay, that would be conversion of diesel to electric. Might be past the time, so but diesel to electric in that context might be past time, but electrification is definitely the way forward. So our attempt here today is during this short period of time to see what kind of lessons we can learn from the efforts he made and also the examples he set to tackle yet another very relevant, very important challenge, that is rejuvenation of Sri Lankan agriculture. Again, agriculture is something that is not given the due prominence. It always remains in the very low level of focus, but it is most important thing that for a country like ours. Now, so this is what I'm saying, that let's hope that our talking about the eminence of people like Engineer Rampala and also the achievements he made should give us the courage and the ability to think ahead and see how can we relate that kind of activity, a kind of insights to different fields. After all, engineering doesn't mean whether you are doing railway engineering or some other kind of engineering. Our basic skills can be applied for different sectors. So let's pick up the sectors that are important to us at the present point of time. So that's why I'm saying that my intention today is to see the theme being engineering for revival and rejuvenation of Sri Lankan agriculture. I have picked up this particular subject because in recent times I have had some kind of dealings or some kind of association with the agriculture sector, and to realize that it is something that we better do now. It is already too late in certain sense. I don't know how many of you realize that although agriculture sector employs some 27% of our labor force, its contribution to GDP is only about 8% or less. I'm not too sure whether that includes the income from the plantation sector, but still it could not add too much to it. In real fact, it should be reversed, because the present effect of that is that we are pumping out so much of dollars at a time. At a time when we hardly afford it, mainly for import of things we could very well grow here. I think the central bank reports show that we are spending like something like $1,500 million a year for import of essential foodstuff, right? So why can't we do something about that? And why is that remaining in that place, that position? That is mainly because the focus given or the attention given to the agriculture sector is so low in consecutive governments. So ever since our independence, it was the sort of, what shall I say, second-class ministry who were doing it. And there were various other factors that were coming in, which always kept agriculture at the lowest level. So instead of depending on our, I would say, even stagnating or decreasing the income from our plantation sector, I certainly believe that we have potential of getting the rest of the agriculture to a level that it is a foreign exchange earner instead of the drain on foreign exchange at the present time. So in order to go into this theme, I have chosen a set of 4 topics to give ourselves some confidence that what we are talking about can be done. So let's take a look at what we did in the past. There are people here who are participants of that one, and we did have a very vibrant engineering support for agriculture at that time. And also what happened in the recent history, in spite of the many difficulties we did face, we kept the flame alive during that time, which also something we should not forget in order that we have built up the courage to move to the future. So, and where are we now? Present contributions, right? And why should we have the confidence that we can do something of course? Then, of course, naturally we should look where we should be going, but the vision for the future. So please permit me to go into these sections little by little. Past, we had very renowned engineering companies. I have friends of mine here who are part of that one. And they had very well equipped workshops, matching any requirement at that time, foundries, machining facilities, all that sort of thing. And as you know, we were exporters of agriculture machinery to the region. Now, of course, we import everything, right? And why did that change happen? We'll have to see what we can do to try and reverse that. Now, some things happened after that. And in recent times, you see, I don't know, you remember it. In the 70s, there was a very big difficulty in getting foreign exchange as we have now, right? And the turnout of these companies during that time was a very distinct blow to American engineering industry in all. But new players emerged, looking at different sectors. And we had the sort of courage to say that no, we still can do things in spite of the difficulties. Now, at that time, we had the various industrial corporation companies, steel corporation, tire corporation, plywood factory, and hardware factory, textile mills, you see. Now that was a boon for the engineers because even if you're not doing any manufacturing and all that, that gave them the exposure to the mechanical engineering industry. You see, at least with the installation and certain part of application and all that. I am a beneficiary of that, I must say. I worked at the Steel Corporation as a student also a couple of times. I still remember what we learned during that time. So that was a great training ground. Although we have lost that manufacturing facilities and that kind of thing, but still that enabled us to keep the industry going to some extent, and certain number of people were able to display their skills on that. Now, two organizations I would like to mention this one. Forgive me if I have forgotten anybody others that I should mention, because my association with them is Pandit State Engineering Corporation, where I served as mechanical engineer. My friend Chula was with me at that time, and PSN was also there for a short time, right? And other one is Dockyard. Now they entered into the manufacturing industry at that time. Because of the shortage of foreign exchange, certain things you could not import even if you like it because you didn't have foreign exchange. So some examples of that one, although they are not entirely related to the agricultural sector, has some, I would say, left-handed kind of association. These are hydraulic gates and penstocks. First set of hydraulic gates designed and built in Sri Lanka, done by State Engineering Corporation. That created the entire new industry, which is thriving even now. Nowadays, nobody thinks of importing gates. I have a number of students here who are designing gates for irrigation gates. You see, so what we started that time has had that effect and creating a level of competence in that area. Then, along with that one, of course, certain amount of facilities were also picked up. State Engineering Corporation was also responsible for part of that one in installing, heavy fabrication equipment like rolling machines and also heavy machinery for machining work. All that was done. That was those are still available to us. So it was done during that time because we were looking at a certain aspect of the need at that time, matching or to try to overcome a difficulty that was coming in. Then, of course, even though they were at a lower level of activity like Vaughan & Son, Browns and Company, Colombo Commercial Company, it was taken over by the state. That was also another blow, right? Samuel & Sons, Gown Factory, Yamaji, 2 others, they still kept the flame alive. So we did not lose our mechanical engineering skills completely. We still had that. Although the direction and in which whether we optimize that capability or not is a different story. Then, as you all know, another blow, the 77, the open economy. My personal opinion, very ill-conceived, particularly look at how India looked at it, how we did it. We opened the floodgates, and even the smallest kind of equipment were imported, shutting down all the facilities we had. Remember, we had St. Anthony's and people like that who were making all range of nuts and bolts and things like that. I can't name all the people. A lot of things, industries went down, and of course, that was a deterrent for anybody to try to even get into the industry. Still, I must say, Sri Lanka will always survive. So there were certain hardy players who managed to survive. Right? So, in spite of all the restrictions, that's the time when as the saying goes, that the game, the times get tough, the tough gets going. That's another thing. So, not many, but enough to give us hope. Now, that time, again, I was fortunate to be associated with some of the companies who came into that field, instead of just taking the easy path out and just importing everything, had faith in Sri Lanka, faith in our abilities. Particularly, I talk about HECAP, where I served myself, first as a contractor, I must say, then as an engineer there, who started gave that opportunity to a lot of people here to continue on this engineering industry, mechanical engineering industry. We made fantastic things, if I might say so myself. Take up and the products both closely associated with, and those insights and confidence also paid off economically, because those days we used to calculate practically 1/4 of the cost of something we would have imported. We manage to fabricate here, they are working well enough. You see, so that kind of confidence is useful, and this is what we must be looking at to tackle the future. While saying all these things to say that we can do things, we have the ability to do things. And also we go around and say, like they say, for Alinne ape wada, they are still there to see, right? So also the important things I always associate with, at least people I know in the Helios Group companies, they use the in-house abilities of engineering and engineers and their skills to hold the hands of not so small time workshops. You see, all the detailed drawings were done by the engineers so that the small time workshop people could follow them and do what is needed. I always used to say that my engineers used to go and stay under a coconut tree and supervise what was being done by a small workshop. And we ended up with, really fantastic stuff. So that is very important. This is something that we try to impart to our engineers, my students who are here. You have to do it up to that detail. That is what we are supposed to learn at the university and come out and do it. You see, unfortunately, we have been a lull in that one, and to some extent, I blame our universities also not inculcating that kind of requirement in the engineers who are coming out. So ISL had to step in to do that. Right, so that detailing of the engineering which is done in the design office of the big companies, but then that data is used by the small. I must say that Take-Up doesn't have a workshop at all. But we made kilns and all these things were done by small time people, right? Who were given the support of the designs and the knowledge how to do things. You see, you wouldn't believe that this kind of thing could have been done in Sri Lanka. Engineering made some. They got a much smaller workshops to do these things. And number of such companies came up. Yeah, all these are projects done by Take-Up. I am using them so that they are not just simple these things. Some of them are very sophisticated. I can go through all the lot of it. But those engineers still remain. They are still here. Those engineers are some here. Some of them are ventured out on their own, right? Different kinds of things. And what I show you on the side is one of the state-of-the-art charcoaling and energy generation system, patented. I'm proud to have been associated with that time. But that's the kind of skill that is our right? So that is what we should look at, how we can use that expertise for the future. Now, there are corporate state agencies also who could do this one. But of course, something is missing in the state sector. You see, there was no, what shall I say, drive to take what you know and what you do out to the market and make sure it's sad to stay. But still, those agencies do have a lot of facilities. Even if you don't have much of the HR facilities, but they have equipment is available, right? So this still can make a big difference. That's what I'm looking at. How can we make sure that we make use of those facilities also that are available? Now, what do we need? Must be used to generation of wealth by growing agriculture industry. That's what my vision is, what we could be able to do. So machinery industry is very important for that one, because if we are going to manufacture things here, not necessarily to the large scale of the larger this thing, but now we might want much smaller equipment. So what is there available now? in spite of the downturn of the major engineering company, we still have certain amount of this year. Things have changed. Like I said, the technologies have changed. So what we needed, huge, massive, heavy machinery is no longer needed. There are other ways of doing things. Now, what are we should be looking at? We should be certainly be looking at new designs, and we have to always look at how we can adapt things that are there. New innovations are needed, and mechanization, automation are definitely need of the day because of our issues of labor shortages and that sort of thing. People don't want to be doing the sort of manual kind of work. So you must have the mechanization, mechanical aids at least, that sort of thing. I must also say that this slide is about 20 years old or even more. This is what I have been preaching or even those times. It's still relevant. So what do we do now? Modernizing agriculture, that's the buzzword these days, right? As a new frontier, I wouldn't say new frontier, but as a frontier, it has been opened up again. For due to what you call desperation, as it is. You see, I know World Bank and all those people. You are not suited to be doing agriculture. Why don't you import that sort of thing? That is the most negative kind of thing that our people grab, for whatever reason is. A country needs its security. That is driven by 4 important sectors where you should be non-dependent, not necessarily entirely independent. This is gospel from Dr. David Wallen. Food is essentially one. Medicine, then education, health. Now we added the energy also to that. You must be non-dependent. So food comes right on the top. So food means agriculture. And also we don't have wisdom to, because Sri Lanka says, isn't that a strategic advantage we have? We have fertile land, we have enough rain, we have too much rain perhaps, and sunshine. So we are best equipped to do agriculture. You people know that kind of strides that are made by Israel. Israel is not a good name these days, but they have converted deserts into real fertile land and they are exporters. Or take Netherlands, for instance. The size of depends on the size of the land, the amount of exports, food export they do. Amazing. We are just trying to get enough to eat ourselves at least. So you have to increase the productivity and the income to the farmer. That's a very important issue because otherwise people will not stay in farming. And the shortage of labor is not really a shortage of labor per se, but it's a shortage of people who want to continue to do that. So how do we change that? That is why this mechanization automation becomes important. You see, so that you are converting their stature, right? And also, we want to increase the income so that they are happy to stay there. That's a worthwhile career, worthwhile lifestyle for them. And in doing so, we create yet another industry of local entrepreneurs who are manufacturing equipment, who are providing services, that sort of thing. So happily, there are some young entrepreneurs, engineers who are coming into that. And so all is not lost. Now, this can be a very long list, not the time to do this one. But you see, when we are talking about agricultural equipment, one is for the agriculture per se, the growing and harvesting part of it. Next comes for the value addition. That is much more attractive in certain ways. Now, we saw this one at Hekab. We are the largest activated carbon manufacturer in the country and largest coconut shell-based activated carbon manufacturer. That value addition from a coconut shell to activated carbon is about 1,000, right? All done locally with our knowledge and with our equipment. Again, you remember what was done with the fiber pitch, Hobat. The mountains of Hobat that were lying around are not there anymore. That was an industry created from nothing. And all the technologies, equipment, everything was done locally. That's a typical example of waste to a product. And also resolving perhaps the environmental problem. Right? Now, I would like to say one more thing. Another thing we are ignoring is bamboo. I'll come to that later. Bamboo has a $80 billion market in the world. I don't think we get even 80 rupees out of it. So these are what is the way to happen. These are all agriculture-based products. So, like I said, there are young people who are coming to this one. Some of them are my own Goliaths who are ventured on their own, making things which are unheard of that you could do it here in Sri Lanka. Highly sophisticated equipment. You see, now what you see on the left is a machine to make dish dents. You know, for pressure vessels, we had always had a problem when I was at Take-Up also. We didn't have source for it. We had always import that, unfortunately. But local engineer, local actually workshop guy wanted to do that one, use one of our engineers to develop the machine. It's a very heavy machine to roll the place into a dish. You see? And the other one is hydraulic systems which go with it. Yeah. Here, a little bit of the review. That you see, it's about the 1-in-6 plate being rolled into a dish. That gives a huge amount of force. Right, then there's another set of equipment that they have done. I'm just going through quickly to show that these are things that have been done by our people without any kind of hesitation because they know how to handle it. Now, this is an important one I want to show, where we went into coconut shell-based power generation. Now, you might be aware of the earlier days, actually, all the coconut shell charcoal was made in pits, highly polluting. You see, if you go near any of those things, the smell on your clothes will not go away for months. So, two things were done. One was, of course, ACAP developed more environmental friendly pit charcoaling arrangement, but address what causes that pollution. That gases that are coming out is highly valuable as a source of fuel. Combustion very easily because full of carbon monoxide and things like that. So instead of allowing that system to go, we developed the system. I probably might say we, because part of it is not me, it's a huge large number of people who got together, worked for many, many years to come to that one, develop the technology. So end up by saying that, okay, why do you want to waste that resource? You make your charcoal, but also use that waste gases. So use that one. And again, I must say that I went to Scotland and brought a 40-year-old boiler and a turbine, still running, right? We are pumping electricity through the grid. This is renewable energy, one of the earliest projects where we did renewable energy. It faced a lot of difficulties, all right, but still they are still running. You see, so that skill, now I can't show you all the details, really state of the art. We could run the plant from Colombo. It's in Kadagama. All the automation, everything was done so that we could run it from Colombo. So that kind of skill was there. This is how, I don't know, no, nearly 15 years ago. Not now. So right now it must be even that much more easier. Right. Anyway, it will be very wrong of me not to mention DocCat. DocCat boss is here. They are fantastic people who had the courage, and people like Mangalayapa and people before that also, who really had the courage to say we can do things. Don't say that we are a pretty country, we can't be competing with Singapore or Korea or something like that. They ventured into it. I think the foundation was there because of workers. We had the DocCat, the dock available. So that was a big help. But anyway, taking what is available and moving forward. Now they are world-renowned shipbuilding company. Right? And recently I went and saw fantastic things. Here is state of the art. That we showed that at the techno exhibition also. So all I am saying is we can do, we have the skills. All what we want is how to focus that one, direct that one into the problems that we are having as a problem solving. This thing, making use of the abilities. Right. Bring that again. Are we ready to accept the challenge and the scope of modernization? When I say modernization, I look at all these sectors of what we should be doing. Now, governments have been talking about modernizing agriculture for years and years. Lots of funds, millions of funds also have been spent. But what is the outcome? Did we get anything of value out of that fund? Particularly because of lack of a holistic approach. Look at the total picture. Somebody going and doing something but without worrying about what happened to the product, what happened to the market, right? But within that going also did have the positive this thing of some new entrants coming into the picture. Now, I brought this one up. I think this slide should have come a little later. One of the present day modernization exercises, the Department of Agriculture is having a sharp pot of money for modernization, and they are addressing what is called the covered agriculture. They are giving grant funding to people who want to go in for those greenhouses and grow things inside. It's a good thing. It must happen. And people who have been to China and all that, you said, say, acres and acres of, or why should they miles of greenhouses? So it has value, and certain people who are ventured into and are quite happy about it. You see, the salads and things like that are coming out, but a lot more can be done. So point I'm going to say is, so they gave that money to people, but did not say how is that money spent on what kind of thing. Right now, as it is, the people take the money and go for the standard kind of equipment, use GI pipes and plastics and all that. Is just only one segment of what it should do. Spending that money must have a sort of a multiple impact. But if we, on the other hand, look at alternative ways of coming to the same answer. You want to cover agriculture, you need the structure. Why not do something else for structure? Unfortunately, bamboo also remained in that poor man's construction material, considered not durable and that sort of. But this picture shows different. You see, that's even a bridge on which cars can travel. We use in bamboo. Next one is geodesic dome. Buckminster Fuller's dome may be made out of bamboo. No time to show that a variety of things. That is because upgraded to a valuable construction material. We made few exhibitions here, but they didn't pick up. I tell you why. Because there's a regulation coming from 1907 when the Sudras were here, bamboo without permits. Our people are still carrying that. You see, without worrying about, and because that time they classified bamboo as a tree. Any half-baked botanist knows bamboo is a grass, not a tree, as much as paddy is a grass. We have been struggling for the last 20, 30 years to get that change. Because of that permit requirement, you know what happens in Sri Lanka when you require a permit. So nobody wants to take a risk of investing on how to do the treatment of that. Those knowledge is there, technology is there, no problem in that. How to improve bamboo to be a long-lasting, valuable product. That's there, but nobody invests on that because of that. We have gone all the way up to the parliament to try to get it reversed, but so far not happened. But what I'm saying is, if you do that one, then the greenhouses could have been made out of bamboo. Bamboo can be nicely bent into those shapes, whatever shape you want. And also that would have created yet another industry. You are getting where you want to go by creating the greenhouses, but at the same time, that process of getting the greenhouse going creates yet another industry and using a local material. And definitely agriculture related product. Many things that you can do with that. So that's unfortunately the situation in Sri Lanka, because we are unable to look at the big picture. Some years ago, whenever we talked about we must have mechanized agriculture, particularly paddy farming and things like that, people were talking about combined harvester You see, but always the feeling was that no, you can't do that. Our hands are too small or too muddy or some things like that. You can't do that. But the Chinese made a change in that. They brought the booth and the tsunami. Wherever you go, you see those. Right? So that whole myth of you on large tracts of land for you to use that one was just blown. We didn't have the sense to look at that ourselves and made the booth here in Sri Lanka. Unfortunately, these are important. But it has done a big service because at least to some extent, you can do that. My good friend, John Fernando, top level electrical engineer, is a farmer. He does all that. He has his own booth there. Right? He cultivates 15, 20 acres of paddy. You see, now, he's the kind of person I want to convert all our farmers to become agripreneurs, not just agricultural farmers, laborers. You see, so these are the things that you should be changing when you are talking about modernization. Modernization must always go along with development of the local facilities and industries so that it's sustainable, not dependent on something coming from China or Thailand, which requires dollars. Right? So that kind of thinking is what we really need. So, other thing I always say is, there are certain positive things that happen. Now, practically every farmer would have a two-wheel tractor. And I'm sure all of you know, two-wheel tractor is Dr. A. Vijayarthan's invention. At that time, we didn't have the sense to start making it ourselves. Now, the Kubotas and the Yanmas are going to grab it and we import them. But let that be. In spite of that, a lot of farmers do have two-wheel tractor. That's your motive power is already available. Your means of driving power is already available to the farmer. But are we making use that to the optimal level? I see them using a transport, even the bride is taken on a two-wheel tractor with a trailer. Is that all what we want to do? Some people use a plow for the paddy field. But if you look at this picture, kind of attachment that you can make to do variety of things, driven by the tractor as a motive power. Now that should create yet another industry, certainly doable by small people. You don't require big equipment to do that. Now that's the kind of modernization that must happen. If you do that one, we achieve both things. You are mechanizing the agriculture and also you are creating the entire set of different set of industries and entrepreneurs. Now, few things that happen, like like mentioned, I was involved in TR, right? Now, tea sector has a huge problem because of not being able to harvest. Some of the time they lose their harvest because they are not able to pluck them in time. So once they grow too much, it is useless. You go beyond that. Two leaves and the bud level, then the tea is useless. So you have to harvest in time. And also to maintain the quality of Ceylon tea as the best quality tea, you have to make sure you harvest the two leaves and the bud. If you get false leaves coming in, the quality drops immediately. Now, traditionally, that is done by the ladies. All the rough leaves are brought in, so the ladies. But there's interesting thing that has happened because now the girls don't want to go in that. You know why? Because their fingers get stained and they travel about in the bus. People see that one. So they are always saying that he's a sheep plucker. Right? So they would want that stigma on it. So something happened done. You know what? See this picture that is there on that side. This is what we don't want to see. That is what we have. That was done. Again, using a manual harvesting device, what's called the selective harvester. Patented thing by one of my friends at TRI. But of course, it didn't pick up adequately because we have that sense of machine motor machine this was handheld thing. It does beautifully, right? But actually, now this is at the state is. It a lot depends on the people, the superintendent. Now he promoted this one. He provided all the gloves and hat and all that to the business. So their image changed complete with the jacket and all that sort of thing, and the plastic basket instead of the rattan basket. So all that changes, but that requires that kind of dedication on the supervisor also. And these girls started earning double their salary because the quantity that they could buy, and also very good quality harvested tea, which are good for the factory also, but did not pick up adequately. So we have been looking at how can we go to the next step of making a mechanized harvester which can increase the quantity and also cater for this problem of labor shortages. So are not dependent on that lady is skilled in doing that one. We want to use technology to make sure you plug the selectable ones only. You know, the machine itself will pick up the right ones and reject the other. Fortunately, two parties have accepted the challenge and we are now doing the prototype testing on that. Now, that's a huge boom to tea industry if we can get them populated at the correct time. Because we lose so much tea harvest because of not being able to harvesting time. You have to harvest it once in about once a week you have to harvest. You delay it, then it's no good. Right? So that kind of thing is there. Then again, Dr. Ray always used to say, harvesting is the biggest problem in any kind of agriculture. You know, cost as well as the difficulty of doing that. What you see here is a kind of very, very innovative guy who came up with. Now you would have seen the bamboo poles we use, but it is a very requires bit of skill. Bamboo, so what he did was he replaced bamboo with aluminium. You know, we have an aluminium pole which can be coupled together to get a whatever length. You see, he replaced that as the first solution to the problem. If you go along the Candy Road, you will see a board saying aluminium pole kilometer 33, right? Chap called Manoj, right? And he has large number of other small sort of implements like that one. He has one with that one where you can pluck papaya without falling to the ground. I bought one, I still have it, but the papaya tree is dead. Right, anyway. Now, he went with what I show in this side is various other little gadgets. Right? But most important one is the one here. Aha, look at that. The dog doesn't like it. He tries on the pole, but he does same thing on the coconut tree also. Now, we have been talking about this one for years, even at ISL, trying to get somebody to design a tree climbing device, right? And people were already wanted to have an engine and all that sort of thing, which brings the cost too high. You came up with a very simple device, right? And you can buy it there if you want. So you can go take yourself up to the bunch of coconut and pluck it yourself rather than wait, depending on the pole or a monkey for that matter, like they do in Thailand and Indonesia. Right. Anyway, so all to say that we can do things. Now, similar kind of projects, some designs have been done by a number of organizations. What I'm showing you is designs done by the FMRC, that is Farm Machinery Research Institute at Mahalupan, and also the Postal Research Institute in Andhra. They have developed these designs, but they are not come out into the market. That is the unfortunate thing. That's the problem with our state agencies, that the skill has not been converted into something useful for the people. Now, my challenge to our engineers is go pick up those designs and become a manufacturer yourself, so you can start a business on your own. Now, this what is there at the bottom is again from one of our engineers. He has gone into industry and manufacture. He is doing that himself. And also again supported by one of these government programs modernization programs, we have been supported to do some things like dryers and all that sort of thing. Right, so let me carry on. Again, number of other industries who are coming. This is, I think, called Rex Engineering or somebody. Some fancy stuff that are displayed as a techno also. Doing things like drying and powdering and, packaging, sizing, that sort of thing. Very simple equipment. But now he's well up in this thing because he makes all those other components for required to manufacture also. Right. Having said all that, how much time I have taken? So having said all that, the door is open. All we have to do is walk in. Now, of course, that takes a lot of courage than you're saying, going to business is a very, very dicey situation here. So you need a lot of courage and guts to do that one, and chances of failure are so there. But I think you can mitigate most of the risk by doing the right thing right from the beginning, but starting from the design. So what we did ourselves, as President-elect mentioned, we started with what is called the Mechanical Engineering Design course, CPD course, to teach people how to do design. How to do design, our theme is, a design is supposed to solve a problem. You have to identify a need and come up with a design that will solve that, fulfill that need or eradicate the problem that you see. So we encourage people to look at all that. My boys here must be angry with us. We push them so hard to go through that systematic process. If you do that one, what you end up with is a thing that can be implemented. And unless you do that one, there's no use to it. I mentioned earlier, when we gave them jobs to the workshops, we gave them all the details and full detail. Every nut and bolt is specified. So they know what to do. They don't have to come back and ask. So we are trying to teach of the people artists who are coming to our design course, how to get there, so that you come up with the total complete design in detail. So but I always used to tell them, even if you send it them to Timbuktu, they can make what you wanted done without having to call you or send you SMS. They can do it. So it has been proven. I'm glad to say some of our students come up with very good reports detailing all. We look at not just the engineering science of it. Everything must be there. Identify the need, who the stakeholders are, what are their particular problems, how do you identify the problem, sort of break it up into components, then look at all the kinds of alternatives. What have other people done? Have you looked at? Can we do the same thing or cannot come up with a better idea? And eventually detail it out and in adequate detail so it can be made. Of course, with an eye on the cost. Must be something that you can afford to do that, something you can market. The cost must be right. So that's what I have said all here. This is what we have been trying to do. Agriculture sector provides a huge market because even going beyond shores of Sri Lanka, food is something that everybody needs. Everybody talks about food shortages that will come. You see, so many people, billions of people will starve in the years to come because there are not enough food. So the market is out there, and it's a dollar market, right? So we as engineers must become problem solvers. And also, I want them to be entrepreneurs also. Not just a designer, but go in and grab it and make yourself a business, right? So use your skills to fulfill the current demands, develop new products, dissect our unexploited resources like bamboo I was talking about. You can think of many other things like that. Right, ball is in our court. We want champions, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your highly resourceful lecture. Hope we have to gather a lot from his remarks. Our next agenda item is speech by Ms. Dilhara Vikrama Singha, great granddaughter of Mr. Engineer B.D. Rampala. Podium is for you.
Thank you. Good evening, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. I stand before you today with a heart full of gratitude as we bring this captivating oration to a close. On behalf of my family, I, Dilhar Singha, great-granddaughter of the late engineer B.D. Rampala, would like to extend a warm and sincere vote of thanks to each and every one of you who has graced this occasion with your presence. Our profound appreciation goes out to the guest speaker, Engineer Parakrama Jayasinghe. Your eloquence and wisdom has made this oration a truly enlightening experience, and we are grateful for the depth of knowledge that you have shared with us today. A special note of thanks is due to the President, CEO, Chairman of Engineering Sectional Committee and the Administration of the Institute of Sri Lanka, as well as the members of the Organizing Committee. Thank you for affording us the opportunity to be a part of this enriching experience. Your dedication and commitment have been the driving force behind the seamless execution of this oration. To our audience present with us today, both physically and virtually, your presence has added an immense value to this atmosphere. Once again, thank you all for being a part of this enriching experience and have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Singha. I think I have missed one agenda item, presentation of a memento to our guest speaker. For this, I cordially invite our President-elect, Engineer Granny Jayala. Thank you very much, President-elect. Our last item today is tradition, giving away the vote of thanks. For this, I respectfully invite the Chairman Mechanical Engineering Section Committee, Engineer Ruan Naga.
Good evening to everyone and President-elect Engineer Granny Jayala, our keynote speaker Engineer Parakrama Jayasinghe, Vice Presidents of IESL, all the council members, our past president, the family members of Engineer B.D. Rampala, Executive Secretary of IESL, IESL Secretariat staff, ladies and gentlemen. It is with profound honor I stand before you to deliver the vote of thanks in this event. Engineer B.D. Rampala oration is one of the key events in our event calendar in IESL and in MESC. We value his vision. He had brought a vision to Sri Lanka that our engineers can do, right? So he lived in an era where all the projects were done by local engineers. We had only very few engineers coming to guide us. The scenario was quite different right now, right? So that we honor that vision he created in the country where his knowledge were put into practice. Even the OEM, the original equipment manufacturers, were surprised by his knowledge. They will appreciate his knowledge, right? So that is the main theme behind this memorial oration. We wanted to honor that vision he created in the engineering world. So further, engineer Rampala inculcate us a passion how local engineers should work in the country, work for the country, where everyone believes that industries are belong to Europe. So the locomotives, everything we thought only European can do, but we had been able to do lot more than that during engineer Rampala's era. So now I move on to our vote of thank, the engineer Parakrama Singh, our keynote speaker. I have listened to you, your speech with great enthusiasm. I had seen, we had already have a lot of products coming in the market, but it is the gap between the manufacturing and commercialization. We are lacking on that part. Our engineers are really capable of doing this. The policies that need to be come into the picture. So as you highlighted, so I think we have to look on to this one as IESL and as a country, how we can support that one. And Engineer Parakram Singh, you shared valuable insight, a lot of knowledge, your experience, your passion, your dedication in this lecture that goes hand in hand in success. I think I have to mention that he once told that he feels sad that he didn't belongs to that engineer B.D. Rampala era. He could share only his being an Alambian, right? but I could say I'm more sad on that part because I born in Pandipitiya, Kottava, the same place he had born. I go to Kottava Rampala Junior School where he go to first school. Then I had go to Nalanda where his secondary school. Then I went to Morotua, right? But we miss that we miss that great gentleman in our era, but what to do? So I think we always envisage these passion that our senior engineers had in their careers, where they built the gates of Kalawava and all these things were built by our engineers, right? So we were not aware of that thing, and even be aware of that thing, we try to import all these things, right? So I think we sincerely thank Engineer Parakram Singh for bringing these things here and bringing that vision that Engineer Rampal brought to this country live again. Secondly, I would like to thank our President-elect who had Engineer Granira Jalat for his wonderful welcome address, addressing Engineer Rampala's career, life, and all these experience. And thirdly, I would like to say we are really honored to have Engineer B.D. Rampala's family members here. They had been coming every year, and I can't imagine the enthusiasm they have for the event, and they gather around this event and being with IESL, and it is great pleasure to have you here in this memorial oration. Then I would like to thank our past president. Every time when we have this lecture, our Engineer P.R. Silva and many past presidents come here and grace the occasion. And it is a great honor that you all dedicated for these events. And thank you very much coming for this event and gracing the event. And I have to say the success of the event greatly depends on the secretariat staff. They do a lot of work behind the scene. I think none of us go through that kind of detail. They do. They call us. They were talking about every detail of the session, and I think if we don't mention that thing, we are making a great mistake. So I wanted to thank our Executive Secretary, Engineer Neil Abhisekar and his team for all the dedication they are putting into this memorial lectures. and also all the event in ISL, getting this smoothly organized and move forward. Further, I would like to thank all the members of IESL who had come here and all the general public. I can remember even last time there were few engineers, few public who had associated engineer Rampala come to this event, right? So last time we met some of them. So I think we should appreciate those people who had come here for this event. And I think I have addressed everyone, and thank you very much for gracing this event and coming here and being and listening to this memorial oration. So there's one item we would like to introduce into this memorial lecture today, so that we wanted to have e-library of Engineer B.D. Rampala, where his works, his all the engineering marvel. We wanted to put it into one library-like thing where whoever wanted to have access and also the people who have the material on Engineer Rampala's work and the career, they can upload it, so that we wanted to create that one. So we have a small session to launch that one. So I invite our president-elect to please launch the this e-library. I think Engineer Priyas will again. So you might be having a lot of documents, you can share it with us, so that it will be beneficial for the future generation, how his work had been carried out and all the details. The family members also can help us with a lot of material they have, so that we will maintain this library so that everyone will have access to this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.